and welcome to the Annie Altman Show, the podcast, Season 4. Welcome to Podcastukkah 2019, Episode 3. The Annie Altman Show projects are Field Me Search for the Humanity, an interactive stand-up comedy musical philosophy show from the perspective of a human named Annie. Hey, it's me. The Humanity is about how no one ever fully figures out how to human, how there's 10 C themes of the human experience connected by the C theme of connection, and how openly discussing these themes is part of maximizing resource equity and minimizing human suffering. Today, I'm here with Kati Rausch talking about the importance of being authentic. Kati and I met at an open mic night with an event through Artery. So check out Artery and their events wherever you are. And welcome, Kati. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, Annie. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
I'm so glad that we made it from stand-up mic to podcast mics.
Yes, the podcast mic looks so cool. I like it.
So tell a little bit about yourself before we get into the topic specifically about what you like to do.
Yeah, I'm a German girl from Finland and I live in LA now since a bit more than a year. I love cats and heavy metal. I do... Yeah, I'm a stand-up comedian and an actress. Yeah, cliche in Hollywood, actress in Hollywood, so yes. And I do funny band interviews. So I do band interviews and mostly it gets funny because I have a lot of crazy thoughts. I often have weird thoughts and I like to put my weird thoughts out there. Like I just had, when you said from stand-up mic to podcast mic, I had this idea. What would happen if you as a stand-up comedian or me as a stand-up comedian would come on stage with a podcast mic and then you would be the only person that has a podcast mic?
I meant more like the setting of it because we could use... Yes. I'm being like way too literal. I'm like, they're all microphones.
Oh yeah, right.
Like someone went up with like a podcast mentality onto a stand-up stage.
I thought more just with the mic and doing stand-up and just you're special because you have a special mic. Or like a 50s, like 50s or 60s Elvis mic, just to look cool, you know.
I feel like people would shit so hard on a stand-up who brought their own mic to a mic.
Yeah, or probably it's not even connected. You have to speak to the normal mic, but you can hold your cool mic over it and pretend that you're speaking in your mic while you're speaking in the other mic. If we want to go there, that's just an example for crazy ideas that I sometimes have. I also just made my first own short film. I made some before, but that was my first short film in the US. And of course it's crazy. It's a mix of comedy and drama and very experimental. And I hope I'm gonna get it done soon. We're just in post-production still. And I hope I can have a festival premiere in LA very soon, maybe in January or February.
What's the film about, if you're okay to share?
Yeah, I think I can do that. It's a very special idea and it's very secret. But here on this podcast, because we want to be authentic today, I'm going to share it. So
as much as you want to.
That was the over-the-top fake introduction for the authentic topic. So it's about a couple that is happy together and then they break up and get back together. Oh yeah, now I ruined it because I spoiled the ending. No, that's fine. But the funny thing is, the story is dramatic. But the funny thing is they only speak in song lyrics the whole time. The whole film. It's called Our Song.
That's a fun way to add lightness to something that can be really heavy.
Exactly, because the story itself is more dramatic, but the way it is told is fully comedy. And that's the situation comedy that I wanted to have. And I found an amazing male lead, and of course I'm the female lead. We had really good chemistry and I'm really excited to see how it's going to look when it's ready. I was yesterday for 3.5 hours in a Skype meeting with my favorite editor from Germany. And I edited the first version. I want to do that myself. And then I thought I'd get a professional to look over it to make it really cool and do the fine tuning. And we're just in the process of doing that right now.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very authentic that you... Or is that authentic? It's authentic if you are someone who likes to be involved in different aspects of it, to let yourself be involved in the writing and performing and in the editing and getting to see a lot of different perspectives on the same project.
Yeah, and I have so many ideas that I want to realize and so many things I want to do and I want to try. But I know there are also people who have much more experience with that and are super talented in the field. So I like to first do it myself and then I get a professional involved to be like my script doctor or we call it the script doctor. I have my best friend going over my scripts. This time not, because I was so sure about this one. But I have then a professional look over it and say like, yeah, this is the way how we can make it even cooler.
I wonder how much because I like to do similar things with my projects as well, and I wonder how much of it is a way to an intention to preserve the authenticity of the project. I know for me, I like to get to be involved or like see it from different places, because then I feel like I can keep more of the authenticity in it, and then to, like you said, the fine tuning.
Yeah, to keep the original version, like the original vision that you have. But I'm always also open to some other ideas. My editor had an amazing idea yesterday for like connecting the different scenes, and we're just working on that. And this was not my idea, but that's why I have him, because he's genius and he's as weird as I am. He's actually also a screenwriter and a director, and probably the most talented director and screenwriter that I know in Germany. Oh, his name is Seppo. Greetings to Seppo in Cologne.
Greetings. And so bringing their own authenticity to the project as well, and like a different perspective and things that you wouldn't be able to see because they're seeing other things. Yeah,
his brain is like a supercomputer. He can tell me, like, 1 film second is made up, depends on which rate you're recording, but it's normally made up of at least 24 frames per second. Could also be 50 or 60 nowadays, but we filmed in 24 per second. And he said, these 2 frames are darker than the other ones, you should remove them. And that's why I have him, because he's really he's highly gifted. He's amazing. Yeah, we had so much fun yesterday. He's also a really, really good friend. We've known each other for more than 10 years. And
that probably makes it easier to work authentically together.
Yeah, we worked also on a lot of projects together in Germany, where he was directing and I was acting, and we know all each other's quirks, and we know each other's, all the authentic weirdness that we both bring in, and that's so easy. Why that's so easy for us to communicate with each other, while it would be probably hard and weird for someone else to listen what we are talking to.
Yeah, it's a way to play to each other's strengths and let each other shine, and actually be a whole team that uses the different things people have to offer. I mean, this is I get by with little help from my friends. Nothing is actually done in a vacuum, or could be done in a vacuum.
Exactly, and I love this Beatles song also.
Yeah, me too.
That's not in my movie, but we have some other Beatles songs in there.
Ooh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Say a little bit more about other projects. You have a YouTube channel and you do band interviews.
Yeah, I have a channel which is called Kati Rausch, and the show is called Kati's Crazy Diary. And I started that in late 2017 when I moved around a lot. When I moved from Switzerland back to Finland, before I moved to LA, I just started doing it, and I wanted to be actually more authentic, because the other stuff that I did, I put on stand-up routines and web series is on another channel, which is called Comedy Girly. That's my old channel. It's also still a lot of nice weird stuff there if you want to see it. But I wanted to be more real and more authentic with people, and talk about my life a bit like vlog style, or just the crazy ideas that come into my head. I made a video about carpets.
About cupboards?
Yeah, carpets.
Oh, cobwebs?
Rugs? Carpets. Sorry, I have to do more accent coaching. Carpets that you put on the floor, like bathroom carpets, the small ones. I think they're called rugs.
Yes.
Yes, sometimes.
I'm sure someone else heard that and understood it the first time
that you said it. No, I always know that I have to work on my accent when I try to use this, is it called voice assistant? When you try to dictate an email to your phone, and some words are always coming out wrong. When I want to say would, it always writes what. And so I know that's maybe something I have to work on.
Whoa, I haven't thought about those being programmed to, for different accents.
They should be, but this is also my, personal, accent coach or teacher. It, kind of punishes me with the wrong words if I'm not clear in my pronunciation. It's kind of funny.
And you're this is my authentic voice.
Exactly, and I always like to sign my emails, my messages with sunny regards. And if I don't speak clearly, it turns it into funny regrets. I thought that's really funny. Yeah.
Ooh, that's really darkly funny.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I'm doing on my now YouTube channel, Kati Rausch, Kati's Crazy Diary. I do all the crazy stuff that I want to do, and I think it was in April, I ordered way too many rocks. I wanted to have 2 pink ones and a blue one, and I did something wrong with Amazon, I don't know, and then I got 9. I had 6 pink ones and 3 blue ones, and I thought I have to make a video about that. And yeah, it's called Too Many Carpets, and a lot of people liked it. And when I was editing it, I thought, is that too silly? And I thought, no, I have to put it out there. And a lot of people really liked it. And then I thought, hey, good that I made that, and that I dared to leave it as it is.
Yeah, even in like the name of calling it Katie's Crazy Diary.
Yes.
Because they're in like the super PC movement there, which I see parts of and I don't see parts of. I've heard from people, which I found really interesting, about the word crazy and all the connotations of using it or not using it or what that could mean. And also in terms of any words or how people give power to words, to reclaim them or to use them in ways that are saying, like, this is my authenticity about what happened, or that I want to make a video about this, or that this is what I want to put out, or whatever it is.
Yeah, and I think crazy can be positive. I always say if I talk to people, sometimes I clarify if something is crazy good or crazy bad. If a person is crazy in a good way or crazy in a bad way.
Could it just be crazy though?
Oh, it could be crazy. But that would be more neutral, or like just honoring the word crazy.
Is it still crazy? Yeah. I like to say that everybody's crazy, so nobody's crazy. People's authenticity leads to different forms of crazy.
Yeah, and of being themselves. I also like to admit these days, because I realized that I am weird, and I like to admit that I am weird, and I noticed that all of the people I'm close with, my favorite friends, my favorite cousins, all of these people, they are also pretty weird. And that's why we understand each other. And we had my cousins and I, when we were growing up, I have 27 cousins, big hippie family. My dad has 9 siblings. And so I had a lot of cousins, and we always felt like we can talk about all this crazy stuff, and we just did. And when there were people from the outside with us, they were just not really feeling included or couldn't follow our conversations, because we all grew up in buses traveling through Europe because our parents were hippies. My dad was a street musician, and we have this view on life. And I think that's what I share with my cousins, and that was easier. And later in life, I found friends that also share a certain kind of weird worldview and dare to be themselves. And my friends and I, sometimes we sit together and talk about stuff where you think if someone would watch that right now, they would think we're all completely crazy, or how can they even talk about this stuff? Like, I also sometimes like to discuss sex with my friends, male and female.
Oh, totally. I don't see that as crazy, though.
No, because you're weird too. That's
yeah.
why we like
yes,
each other
it is.
So much.
Yeah.
I once had an amazing conversation with 3 of my best friends in Finland. 2 were female, 1 is male, and we talked about blowjobs. And it was so interesting also to hear a male perspective on that. And it was...
Yeah, there's way more to learn with more perspective.
Exactly. We all learned so much from that. And I think a lot of people would think it's weird to do that. But we all learned so much from that, and we had also a lot of fun talking about that. Even so, none of us ever gave a blowjob to each other, because we're friends, and not like friends with benefits or anything. But it was interesting to discuss it.
Yeah, well, discussing is different from doing.
Exactly.
I am weird. Also, I hear you on that. Weird attracting weird, and also the part of me that wants to be an extremist or to generalize about humans believes that everybody's weird about certain things. It's just that they come out differently. Although I also believe that things are spectrum, so there's definitely people who are more weird than other people.
Yeah,
like everyone does something weird when they're just by themselves, totally alone. Everybody's just something that somebody else would find weird.
Yeah, and everybody is weird in their own way.
Yeah.
And sometimes people are weird in a similar way or in very different ways. I would like sometimes to print a t-shirt. If I would ever make merch, I don't think merch is so commercial, but if I would ever make merch, I would love to print a shirt that says weird is the new cool.
Yeah, oh, I love that.
I would send you one. If I ever make it, I can send you one.
Yeah, I feel like that has been one of the positives of social media's uptick. Mm-hmm. And people being able to put out whatever they want and however they want and connect with different people who are interested in different things, is that slogan, that belief, that idea, I feel like has had more space than it has had before, to be like the underground alternative, whatever weird stuff is now like
accepted,
it's just like a different channel.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. I love that. I really love that. And I noticed I've been a music TV host for 7 years now for the YouTube channel Music Interview Corner. We started in 2012. So next year it's going to be 8 years.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you. It's so much fun. I was there from the beginning, and I am the main host now. And we have so much fun. It's called Music Interview Corner because we just sit with bands in a corner and talk about music. Make music interviews in a corner. Yeah, that's where this name comes from. And I noticed that I feel best when I can give people the space to be authentic, to be themselves. And I try always to, like what you do here, we talked about that earlier, like when the cast was not going yet. So I try to create a situation in which everybody feels comfortable and the bands feel comfortable and feel comfortable to open up and to be themselves without watching their backs all the time. Because as we all know, there are the tabloids out there and people who want to expose artists or want to, I don't know, create an embarrassing situation so that they get a lot of views for that or a lot of attention. And then some bands sit in interviews, not only bands, but in my case bands, but everyone sits in interviews like, oh my God, I have to watch my bag. I cannot say something wrong and they will use it against me and say, I'm a weirdo or I don't know, crazy,
like
whatever.
Be exposed for being weird.
Exactly. And so I always tell the bands, first of all, we discuss sometimes when I want to talk about extreme topics like drugs or whatever, breakups. Mostly we talk about music anyway. But if it's in the music, I like also to talk about these topics where the inspiration came from. And I love then to ask before, when the camera is not turned on yet, hey, is it okay for you to talk about that or not? And we always have this rule, like, if a band doesn't like a topic or doesn't like a question, they can just say that and we cut it out. And nobody will even know afterwards. And always, every time I send the interviews for clearance to the band manager or promoter or the bands or whoever wants to get it so that they can see before we publish and can say if they want to have something cut out. And that gives us also the freedom to be weird, to be authentic, and to talk about really crazy stuff. And then you can say later, hey, maybe there I said a little bit too much. I had that twice happening, like in 7 years, that 2 artists right after the interview said, hey, can you maybe cut this out? That was maybe a little bit too much. And then, of course, it's going to be cut out. But I would say that 95% of the interviews go then public without any kind of changes or censorship.
I'm glad you brought up comfort, because I feel like that's such a big point of how any of those things could come up at all, or that it could even get to the point where someone gets so comfortable they say something they didn't want recorded.
Yeah, it happens quite often actually. Or that people get comfortable and really open up, and sometimes people ask me like, why do they tell that to you? But I think also because they feel they can let the guard down. And I noticed that sometimes when you have these promo days or like you go to a concert and there are multiple interviews and other like music journalists, reporters, TV hosts, whatever. And then you see that some bands switch into a business mode and they try to talk business about the new album because that's what they have to do in this situation. They are kind of conditioned to do that because otherwise they will say, oh, this band didn't even talk enough about their new album, or they talked about weird stuff. And I noticed then in my interview, they switched to like after a little while, after 2 minutes, they like are like talking like human beings. Like if you would sit with someone just in the park or meet someone at a party or a barbecue and you just talk like normal people, like humans. Yeah, we're talking about humans, like two humans talk to each other about a certain topic and they tell me about their pets or whatever. Or like I discussed with a heavy metal band, I discussed unicorns and we really got deep into it and it was so much fun. Actually pink unicorns, yeah.
Were you expecting the conversation to go anywhere near there?
This band is particularly crazy in interviews, so it was not completely unexpected in this case.
That's probably fun for you to have a band that is known for being crazy in interviews and to go into it with that.
Yeah, it happens often when I interview a band the second or third time that they already know how it goes in our channel. Then they are especially crazy because they know they can do that there.
Yeah, the more you show your authenticity, then the more leading by example, then they know that they can do that too.
And we have this image of the people who know us. We have this kind of, I would say image or reputation that at our channel you can basically do almost everything without being censored or being like frowned upon or like saying, oh, this was a bad interview, this was weird. So you will not be exposed. You can just do whatever crazy stuff you want, as long as it's funny and not hurting anyone. And it's okay there, and they know it. And sometimes they are looking forward to it because the other interviews are more business. And then they know, okay, now we can go a little different if we want to.
And have it be more like just making a video or having, like you said, like a conversation out meeting someone. Rather than like, here, this inspiration for this song actually came from this exact moment. And blah, blah, blah.
Exactly, and that's also interesting, but you can do it, I think, in a more fun way when you really feel. And some people comment on the YouTube videos on our channel like this, I feel I'm right there talking with these guys. Or like it feels like they're just friends and hanging out.
Yeah, which makes it so much more digestible, whatever it is that's talked about.
Yes.
Yeah, that's definitely with the podcast been a journey of how to have the conversations feel like that while still feeling authentic to me and to how I want to talk about certain things, or how that guest wants to talk about certain things, or how to come together.
Yeah. And that's interesting. It's always like co-creation. And with some bands, we also have teasing. We start to tease each other a little bit, especially when we know each other already. And that's also cool because you know each other and you know how far you can go without hurting the other. And that's also really funny for people to watch, I think. For me, it's funny to watch.
Yeah, totally. Well, it's like you said with the video editor where you've worked together before, you know each other's styles. You can ease up, and you can also use what you know people are good at or interested in or like doing.
Yeah, and I feel completely safe to show my stuff and all my weird ideas to this person, because I know he would not judge me and say, no, you can't do that. Because I had that here when I was planning the production with the director that I had, who did a great job. Nothing against him, but he had different ideas, and he was sometimes thinking that was too weird what I brought up. And now I know I can do anything, and we still have the post-production to make it more weird, and that's going to happen very soon.
And we can make it weirder. Safety is so relevant here, because in my experience, that it seems to be what I'm aware of. The biggest block to when I hold back from being authentic is feeling unsafe.
Yes, because you have always to be scared, especially in the media and the show business. We live both in Hollywood now. You get judged for it. And they will say, oh, this is the weirdo, or you get judged for it, and people are scared of being judged or misjudged or then exposed. And yeah,
and like you were saying with the band interviews about that, like, well, I need to put up this like business face, or I need to do this very professionalism. Like, I know I go into professionalism because it can feel safer.
And you have to in some situations. I think it's expected from you in some situations.
Yeah, well, there's a time and place for almost all the things.
Yeah.
I think it can be useful, and it can be authentic in its own way. I feel like I used to be really rigid about, like, against any sort of business practices, or like kind of a blanket fuck capitalism, and like that can't be authentic, and that line of thinking. And I shifted more towards there being different times and different ways to do something, and there can be room for authenticity in different ways. Like I feel very strongly about capitalism in healthcare and prisons and rehab and education, and that's really different from capitalism in terms of advertising like clothes or technology or something, which like there's still things to talk about with all the things. Just I've learned, or I have eased up on my like black and white about almost like wanting to take authenticity and like take it to the extreme everywhere all the time,
and just being you. But I think also I know that a lot of actors, I had that too happening to me. When you do interviews and you promote a certain project, you were on like a movie or a show. Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah, that was authentic. I do that in my YouTube videos too sometimes. I had a lot of water today.
Good job, bud.
Thank you. Yay! High five. So, often they give you restrictions. They say you cannot talk about that or that or that, because you have a whole list of topics you're not allowed to talk to and talk about. And I know that when I interview bands, they have sometimes lists too. And I had a situation once with a band. I think I can say that. I will not name the band so I don't get like anyone in trouble. But the band was on a reunion tour. And it was all the big question, like the elephant in the room was, are they going to make a reunion album together? Are they going to record an album with this extended lineup? And we all knew that's going to happen, but we were not allowed to talk about it. And of course I asked the question in the interview because everybody was wondering. And then we had just bullshit answers. We went into a real bullshit discussion that turned into really funny bullshit. And we didn't answer the question. But it was still interesting. And then when like a few weeks later it was announced it was okay, but people already knew, and there was a big discussion in the comments if they're going to do it or not. And that was cool because we had this restriction everybody knew, and it seemed ridiculous, but we were like, let's talk about it in a funny way. And it worked, and we still talked about it.
You were like, fuck that restriction. We're still going to put it out there?
Yeah, they could just not say like we're going to do it because it was not allowed to be said yet. But we were just like joking about it in a really funny way, and it worked in the end. But I felt also we cannot just not talk about it because that's what everybody's wondering.
And it felt like that would have been inauthentic to the interview to be like, hey, you're on a
Exactly.
reunion tour. We're just not going to acknowledge this.
Exactly. And we were just ourselves. And I think you can still be authentic within boundaries and restrictions that you get. And I feel also, I always grew up on 60s and 70s rock. I'm a hippie girl. Even so, I grew up in the 90s. We were all listening to the Beatles, my cousins and I. We had always the vinyls, like Beatles and Rolling Stones and all the great 60s bands from our parents that we were listening to. And since I worked as a music TV host, I started getting more and more into heavy metal. Because metal is very honest, and I noticed the metal bands are the most honest in interviews. Not to say that the others are not honest, but the metal bands more claim for themselves to be weird. They admit to being nerds, and metal bands are really nerdy, and I mean that in the most positive way, because I like to talk to intelligent people, and they are mostly nerds and weird in the best possible way, and they are not scared to show it. They are not hiding it, and I feel often that pop artists, and nothing against pop artists, I had great interviews with pop artists, but they are more like, the management is much more like breathing down their necks and saying like, no, you have to be like this, and they have a stylist before the interview and this. And the metal bands are just like, no, we don't want a stylist. We're going to do it the way we want it. And our lyrics are written in a certain way. And I feel metal music is very heavy metal, is very honest and very real and has a soul. And that's why I really started getting into heavy metal, also because of the lyrics and the message in the songs.
Very cool. Yeah, there is an intensity and a depth, like a layeredness. I feel like that it's like the pro and con of why pop music can be fun and also is by its nature a more curated sort of a music genre than I feel like metal has so much more room for people to experiment and play and be weird and do stuff that hasn't been done in that combination or in any way like that before. Whereas pop music, like, would it still be pop music if it was totally experimental? It'd be like, oh, that's alternative pop.
Yeah, and it's also called pop music, popular music. So they try to hit the mainstream. Their goal is to produce mainstream. And it works, and they are beautiful pop songs. But metal is more like, no, we're going against the system. We do what we want, and we don't care about rules.
Yeah, and they both need the other one to exist. Like, there wouldn't be a system to go against without pop music.
That's true.
Also, if it was only pop music, then there would be no metal and no other... We would be missing out on all of this other stream.
Yeah, I just saw a meme on the internet. It said, heavy metal is God's apology for pop music. But apology was spelled with 2 P, and I thought that was really funny.
Do you listen to, what do you like to listen to mostly now? Like, did going to do, you said the interviews, is it what got you towards metal more? Yes,
nowadays I mostly listen to metal. It's really cool when you wake up in the morning. I love especially to listen to what we call power metal in Europe, but it's different. It's a different definition. It's important to say that here in the US and in Canada, power metal means something different, different bands, different music than it means in Europe and in South America. It's what you would call it here in the US more melodic speed metal. So it's very fast and very uplifting. And that's what I love to listen to in the morning. And it's also so much more fun when you do yoga to power metal, because you move faster and it's high energy. I often like to call it happy metal, because it's uplifting, it's positive lyrics mostly. Sometimes it's a bit harder and social critical, of course, because it's against the system too. But often it's like just weird and uplifting in a really great way. And that's what I love to listen to most right now.
Very cool. Music is I feel like music and dancing are some of the kind of base of ways to express authenticity or to connect with it.
Yeah.
Like all cultures have music. It always comes up somehow, and everyone has their own connection in some way.
Yeah, and it feels so. What I love when I go to concerts, of course, for my work, I go to a lot of concerts, sometimes like 3, 4, 5 times a week. And it feels so good to be in the crowd. And everybody, I mostly don't go to the front row, I'm somewhere in the middle. And I love it that everybody around you, you share this moment, that you all just enjoy the music. And some people travel really far to see their favorite band. And it's so amazing when you see like the whole audience is jumping all together. You feel this kind of oneness and just enjoying this moment together. There were also studies about that, I think, why people will still go to movie theaters, even so they can have a home cinema. Because you want to share this moment and laugh together with other people or cry together with other people. It's this sharing a beautiful moment, enjoying some beautiful art together.
Totally. It's so cute.
Yes.
It's so real. It is a magical live, especially performance, and live music is, for me personally especially. And that's interesting. I hadn't heard that about going to theaters, of just that human social creature thing where we want to experience it with other people. And also to connect with other people who are interested in the same thing, and go be in a place where other people are also choosing to be there with the same intention of, I really want to be here for this particular thing.
Yeah, and it's like a moment of oneness in a way.
Yeah, totally.
What you can have on a meditation retreat, but you can also have that. I just had that on a Whiskey A Go-Go like a few days ago.
Had a what?
This moment, this experience of oneness. That what you can feel it in a meditation retreat when you're sitting somewhere for 3 days or a week with others meditating. But also you can have that at a concert at the Whiskey A Go-Go, where I just had it there. And it's a smaller venue, it's also nice. But it depends. It can also be an amazing music festival with 70,000 people. And you're just a part of the crowd, or like a piece of the whole. And that feels really great.
Yeah, and it is the same feeling at the meditation retreat or at a heavy metal concert, that it's still that glimpse of connection and feeling.
Oneness. Do you know this really stupid joke? Like the Dalai Lama comes into a pizza place and says, make me one with all. I know this is so stupid, but I still like it somehow.
I like it.
One of the old ones, but a good one.
I hadn't heard that before.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
I wonder how that ties to authenticity too, of feeling like, again, that safety for authenticity, or like the security of not having some judgment or something kind of down your back, like you were saying again with the interviews with musicians, of when that stuff is removed.
I was just thinking when you said safety and telling these jokes, that I learned this joke, this Dalai Lama pizza joke, because there was a TV host really bashed in the European media because he made this joke to the Dalai Lama. He told this joke to the Dalai Lama in a show, and the Dalai Lama laughed about it.
Yeah,
but still people said that was disrespectful, you can't do that. And I think it was great that he did it. And I love the teachings of the Dalai Lama. So I would not ridicule him, but this is such a funny joke on words.
Yeah, and I don't see how that joke is offensive to the Dalai Lama.
I don't think so. I think maybe the Dalai Lama would have liked to have a pizza afterwards, maybe even. Because he has a lot of analogies for that. He always says, like, about different spiritual ideas that you don't have to fight about it. He said always, you can sit in the same restaurant on the same table and each order your own dish. And that's so beautiful, and that's why I think the pizza joke is wonderful.
That is so beautiful. And that's that there's space for all of the things. And it doesn't have to be like, spirituality doesn't need this intense, heavy seriousness about it all the time. Yeah, I wonder if that's what people got upset about, was they were like, you're making a joke about spirituality, and spiritual people were like, that's what spirituality reminds us to do. Yeah, maybe. And I think it's always so sad when people fight about spiritual teachings, because I think the basis of all of that is love each other and oneness and be good to each other, and not to go fight and kill each other and hate each other over it. And it happens, unfortunately, in all of the big religions. There were always wars and fights. And I think that is so much, we always say in Germany, that's not what the inventor intended. I don't know if you say that here too, but that's a popular saying. When something goes wrong or is misinterpreted, we say, that's not what the inventor intended. Specifically for religious and spiritual things, or for other things too?
For everything. Can be used in every...
I hadn't heard that phrase before. Yeah, it's sad to see things that feel like they were created with an intention of connection be used to disconnect people.
Yes, and I think a lot of religions, that's very sad, but it has always, or often in history, religion or belief systems have been used as an instrument of power to keep certain people in power. That's why it's called the King James Bible. I have a King James Bible at home, but still you can see there was always a connection to power and to rulers and to keep certain people in power. And I think that's not what Jesus or anyone else or any other spiritual leader, or that was not what was intended with that.
No, I don't think so either. It is a way of making structures to repress people's authenticity.
Exactly, and I think in the beginning...
And then make them feel unsafe, and then...
Yes, yeah. And being judged, and your eyes on you, and now you're a sinner, and you did this and this wrong. But I think in the beginning, the 10 Commandments were created to have some rules for living in harmony together. So you should not kill, you should love each other, love your neighbor, all of that. You should not steal. That were basic rules for a tribe that was moving around, a tribe of nomads, for them to have a positive and harmonic lifestyle together. That's what it was created for, and then it was later used in a different way. And that's sad. But I think nowadays there are also more people who see beyond that and who try to use it in the way it was intended.
Totally. Spirituality is on a huge upswing, it feels like.
Yeah.
And like also, organized religion, less popular, and also still, I don't see it going anywhere.
Yeah, and then there's so much. I think we're living in the age of personal spirituality now.
Yes.
Where you take what you like. And I'm also a lot into the law of attraction.
Yes.
I totally believe in that, but it doesn't mean that I don't believe in God anymore and that what I grew up with, because I think it's not a contradiction. I often think, I can't say that. We're authentic here today. I believe often, and a lot of people get angry when you say that, but I believe that if I look at all the religions and spiritual systems, nearly all of it is at the basis. If you reduce it to the very basic ideas, it's the same.
Oh, completely. This is a huge part of the base of the humanity, is that it's all saying the same shit, the beautiful shit. It's the golden rule. Treat people how you want to be. Yeah, the same true shit. Treat people how you want to be treated. You want space to be you authentically. Give other people the space to be them authentically.
Exactly, and it's always about the soul is eternal. There's a higher being that is good, or a higher force that is good, no matter if you call it God, law of attraction, love, whatever. And then be good to each other, love each other. And these three things you can find in nearly every spiritual system. And that's beautiful. And then I would think, hey guys, don't fight about it, because look, it's the same. We use different names for it or a different terminology. And I noticed, I also practice Buddhist meditation. I noticed there are so many words in the Bible that were said that Jesus said, and it's exactly the same what Buddha said. And it's amazing, because it's just amazing, and it doesn't matter in the end who said it. Probably both said it anyway, so yeah.
Whoa, yeah. If you go, I bet I would love to see, I bet someone has like looked across all sorts of different religious texts and been like, here's the same sentences that they're all like directly the same phrasing. Yeah,
probably. If someone would do that, maybe someone out there should do that, or write this is doctor papers. What is it called? The
thesis, dissertation?
Yes, the dissertation about it. I think that would be a great topic for a dissertation. Maybe we can Google, maybe somebody did already.
Maybe someone did that already.
Hopefully. I would love to read it.
Yeah, like a very academic argument for the golden rule. Yeah,
yes.
We're all saying the same stuff. I wonder why. I was actually talking about this with someone recently about the irony, the joke, the stand-up comedy potentials for things, about how it can be really challenging to be authentic. You know, it's such an easy, like, it can be very, just be authentic, just be you. And actually, the like figuring out, well, what do I want? Well, who am I really? And it can be more of a challenge to first figure that out, and then...
Yes. And then be it, actually go through with it.
Yes.
Because you're on the stage, you're put on the spot, there's a spotlight on you, and there's an audience, and they want to see something, they have an expectation, and then, just go there, be authentic.
Yeah, well, I was talking about in life, not even just with stand-up specifically, of like trusting that you're going to find people like your director that you found who you feel comfortable and safe with, and that, I don't know, maybe like, have you felt like you have, I guess because you were talking about like hippie parents and the like different things in growing up, have you always felt the comfort to be authentic and to put that out there?
Yeah, it was actually until I went to school, it was easier. So because when I was 6 and I had to go to school, I realized that not everybody is buying the clothes from a secondhand shop in the flea market. And I always loved to do that because it was great stuff and it was cheap. And you have always this argument, if you buy something secondhand, all the chemicals are already washed out, so it's much healthier for you. And my family got everything secondhand. And it was so cool. I was always happy when we went to the flea market and I got new toys. And then in school you notice, oh wait, no, they go to a store and buy stuff, and okay. And people think it's weird that my clothes are all from the flea market. Still nowadays, 80% of my clothes are from secondhand stores and flea markets because I love it. I got all my I have really cool designer dresses and I got them for $4 or $5 from the flea market. Especially in Helsinki and Finland, they have amazing design flea markets. And that was one point that I was like, wait, they do it different, and they don't think it's normal, and they would even judge me because my jacket is from the secondhand store.
And then that started to bring up the doubts of feeling safe to be authentic or to put that out all the time.
Yeah, or you have to make the choice if you're maybe the outsider because you're authentic. And that happened in high school for me. And in primary school was still okay because it was a rural area in northern Germany, and it was all okay because it was the 90s. It was not as bad as now, where maybe 12-year-old girls go and get, I don't know, a perm for their lashes or something. That's not, when I grew up, it was not like this. And we didn't really all have smartphones yet. It was easier, and there was not so much like, hey, I'm 12 or I'm 11, but I have to take the perfect Instagram picture and stuff like that. It was different, but in high school later, it got more difficult for me because I had to decide if I want to be authentic and want to be myself, or if I go, where I grew up, they all in the high school, they had these Doc Marten shoes, which I think are pretty cool, but they always were like forcing everyone to wear them because you were not cool when you had them. And so I never got them because I didn't want them to dictate me which shoes I wear. And so maybe now I'm ready to get a pair of Doc Martens because now I feel it's my own choice to get them. But there were things where you have to decide if you, we call it, I don't know if you're swimming against the current.
Yeah, because in some ways my first thought was that's still making a decision based on what other people are doing, to say, like, that's something I think about a lot with counterculture stuff. Am I making this decision because this is what I want to do, or because I'm specifically wanting to do not what other people are doing? Or, like, it just adds in extra layers that can be really challenging to then move aside and say, what do I actually want here? Do I want to wear these kinds of shoes, or do I not? Like, do I like how those look? Do I like how those feel? What do I actually want?
Yeah, and that's a very philosophical question, actually. What is what you really want, and how can you do it under the circumstances that you have? And I decided not to get them because they were like trying to force me, and I was like, no, I don't want to be forced. But I thought maybe now, that's now my like conclusion of this whole thing, that now I can order a pair of purple Doc Martens for myself, maybe for Christmas.
I love that as a takeaway of like the authenticity, because it can be, things that are quote unquote as small as that, and it doesn't necessarily have to be small, or like it doesn't have to be. I mean more that it can have more significance, even if it seems small, to follow that inner voice, to go again to kind of the things you're saying of the points in all major religions about there being a soul and how to listen.
Yes.
And that maybe what that soul says is purple Doc Martens.
Maybe, yes, yeah. That's so cool. I think I'm gonna order some now. I just got really cool new black sneakers, so maybe I'm black and pink. Maybe I'm happy with those for a while, but after that I should get purple ones. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like so many people have high school like shoes or a certain type of jacket or like a certain brand of jeans or whatever it is that was like a status symbol.
Exactly,
or a way of showing like what group you were in.
And I never liked that. And I felt high school was the worst time for me, where I felt that my freedom was suppressed. My freedom to be myself and to do what I want was really suppressed. But then I was an outsider in high school, actually. And then when I went to college, everything was great again. Because in college, everybody accepted me for what I am. And I was wearing a lot. I love to wear hippie clothes, like these really cool 70s jeans. Like what's called trumpet jeans that go like...
Bell bottoms?
Yes, I love those. And also these hippie blouses and stuff. And I went to flea markets and got them. And I got some original 60s and 70s pieces. And I really enjoyed to wear that. But in 8th grade, it was not cool in 8th grade. I was an outsider for that. And in college, people said, oh, I love your style. That's cool. But I just wanted to wear what I wanted to wear. And it was so nice in high school, everything was so restricted. And in college, it was like a new world. And I was allowed, nobody was judging me for wearing what I wear. And everybody was doing what they want and be free. And I love that. I was really happy in college.
And people were supporting you being happy, which of course is going to make someone feel safer and happier and all of those things. That's what I come to with, everybody judges in their own way about their own things. And the part that is most confusing to me about stifling authenticity is that it feels like such a direct stifling someone from being happy.
Exactly.
And so it feels...
It's a prison. It's like an invisible prison that they put you in. in a way and say like, no, you can't do that, you can't do that. And I'm like, hey, who are you to decide that for me? I want to decide that for myself.
Yeah, and if someone is happy wearing bell-bottoms to school in high school, it's sad to me that someone else gets happier by making someone feel shitty.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, because they were suppressed all the time and they are unhappy with their own life, they feel that they might feel better when they drag someone else down.
Hurt people.
Yeah, and they think they feel better, but in the end, they won't feel better at all.
Yeah, because all that's doing is taking away energy that human could put towards themselves being authentic. They're just spending their energy not on their own authenticity. Exactly, and they just waste their time and energy by, interfering with things that are not their decision, and they're just wasting time. And that's again this philosophical or psychological discussion that you can only change yourself and not can change others. And if you waste your energy by trying to change others, what will you gain? It's just waste in the end, waste of time and energy. Amen.
Yes.
I could use that reminder frequently. I have definitely learned the importance of my own boundaries and limits.
Yes,
and
boundaries are so important.
Where I start and where someone else ends, and how to put myself out there while also remembering that people are going to interpret it however they want and do whatever they want with it.
Mm-hmm.
And
allow them to do that.
Yeah, because I have no other option. I have no control over how this podcast is heard and received by someone. I have none's control.
And it's better then for you not to worry about it, because you can change it anyways. That's true, but that's also something I had to learn, because in Finland, people are so kind. Finnish people, maybe you could compare it a bit like people always say the Canadians are so kind. Mm-hmm. The Finns are a little bit like the Canadians. They are just very themselves, down to earth. That's why I love Finland. I was born in Germany. That's my born home country, and Finland is like, I'm Finnish at heart. Finland is my emotional chosen home country. But I also still love Germany, nothing against Germany. But the Finns are very much themselves. They dare to be themselves, and I love that. That's why I always felt home there.
I wonder what it is that is, like, how that becomes a cultural norm.
I think Finland was suppressed for a long time. Finland gained its independence about 102 years ago. On December 6th is Finnish Independence Day, and that's going to be 102nd anniversary of Finland's Independence Day. And when they're first suppressed by Sweden, and then by Russia. And I think that's maybe this need of finally being yourself, being able to be yourself.
Whoa, well, that's also then the duality of needing that, or potentially that more repression. It's like a pressure cooker, created more pressure for more authenticity to come out.
Maybe, and I feel, of course, that the Finns are always, they take it for granted that they have the right to be themselves. And that's something I really love and admire about the Finns. They feel just, that's my natural right. I can be myself, and I can have tattoos everywhere. And in Germany, for example, I don't know how it is here, probably similar. If you have tattoos on your forearms, you're not allowed to work in a bank, for example, or in a fine dining restaurant. And in Finland, no, you can do that. You can work in a luxury hotel or fine dining restaurant and you have tattoos, because they just decided it's okay. And I love that.
They allowed that to be a human right.
Exactly. And for me, it was kind of a hard learning curve here in the US, because the Finns are so friendly and polite with each other. And here I noticed, I just moved here, and there was a 50-year-old guy who was a friend of a friend, and he just asked me for money. And I was just a new girl, I moved here, and you're like, can you pay for this and this? I don't know how to pay my rent and stuff. And they always ask you when you're nice. I don't think that every American is like this, but I believe also in LA, so many people come together, and here also a lot of crazy people, like maybe not in such a good way, crazy people. And they do things like, hey, can you do this and this for me for free? Or I want this and this. Do that, make this and this for me. And I really had to learn to say no here in a new way, because I needed to really find my boundaries. Because I never had to do that before in Finland, especially not in Finland where I lived for 3 years. It was just, nobody would just dare to ask you something like that. Or just, can you pay for my food, buy me this and this? And I was like, hey, I just moved here. I'm also not that rich myself right now. And I printed a paper. I made a beautiful poster. I created it in Photoshop and I printed it out, and it is hanging till this day above my desk. It's pink and yellow, beautiful, and it says, I will say no to everything that's not beneficial to me. And the no is really big and pink in the middle of the poster. And that helps me to remember that I have to stand my ground and to stand my ground and to respect my own boundaries and make sure that other people respect them. Because it's my nature, and it's the nature of my hippie family that we always want to help everyone. And that's good. And I got also a lot of people who do nice things for me and help me when I need it. But I really learned to develop better skills to filter who is a person who deserves to be helped, and who is a person who will just see me as a supplier then for whatever, for energy, for money, for whatever.
Who is co-creating and contributing and equally exchanging, and who is just taking.
Yes, and taking use of me and thinking oh, this stupid knee foreign girl, let's try, maybe she pays for my food.
It's kind of similar to being intentional about where you put your authenticity out.
Exactly, because that's a situation where you have to guard yourself, or I can still say I want to be authentic, but I will just in a very authentic way walk away if it doesn't work, and say okay, thank you, that's enough now, I will leave now.
What are the social services like in Finland in terms of maybe making situations where people would be less likely to need to ask someone for money for food or rent?
Actually, we have a very good social system. It's a welfare state.
Yeah,
I told that once as a joke.
That changes the whole...
It's like free healthcare, like Canada. And you can get social money, if you're poor, you can have money, you don't have to starve. And that's the same, very similar in Germany. We don't have free healthcare, but we have healthcare that's controlled by the government, that you have to have, and you can have it pretty cheap. But Finland has completely free healthcare. As soon as you get a Finnish social security number, what I have, you can just go to the doctor and say hey, my throat hurts, please help me. And sometimes you have to wait in line, but they will always take care of you.
Which definitely is going to change how people interact with other people if they know that much like, saying that authenticity is a duh in Finland, that because people know their basic needs are taken care of, then
yes, that takes a lot of pressure away. And I just
so much pressure away.
On a sitcom heard this joke that was about the Canadians. Probably the Canadians are always so nice because they have free healthcare, and so they are not that stressed out all the time. Yep.
Hurt people, and so if you give people less things to be hurting over, then people are going to be less likely to hurt people.
That's true. That makes total sense.
It makes total sense. We could go to the root of the thing and distribute basic needs to people everywhere.
Yeah, that would be so wonderful, and it works in Germany. But in Finland, you have just super high taxes. You can pay 50% taxes if you have a high income, but that's how they finance this social system. And I would happily pay higher taxes in Finland, or in Germany we have also, you can pay up to 50% taxes. And the really cool thing they do in Finland, when you get a speeding ticket, it is depending on your income how much you have to pay.
What?
Yeah, and there's
that
a story.
Is so fucking... I mean,
yes,
because I'm for bracketed tax, I think that's so cool. Because why would you not give more if you can give more without harming yourself?
And it goes to the government and finances our free healthcare. So there was the story about one guy from Nokia that had to pay 30,000 euros, I think.
Whoa.
For what he did. Because he had a super high income. He was one of the top executives of Nokia when they were still big in business. And he had to pay 30,000.
Whoa, that seems really extreme.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I'm all for having it be a range, and I also feel like I'm not the person to be making the decisions about how much at a certain point. I don't know. I mean, I guess I was going to say that money could go towards helping other things. It's going towards the social services.
Poor families' children get healthcare from that. And this guy made millions, I think. So I think it didn't really hurt him that. I mean, of course, probably it hurt him, and it's annoying, but still, it went for a good cause.
So many people got help because of it. Because of him
Sorry
speeding.
for that guy, but happy for everyone else,
Yeah, well, and if that guy also still has his basic needs covered and more, not that sorry for him.
No, and I think he was really a very, very a lot over the speed limit. So I think that has also to do with that, how far you go over the speed limit.
That's interesting. They do it all so scaled, or so.
Yeah.
Wow, I had never heard of that before.
Yeah, that's an amazing system. I think.
What do you think people would, if someone said to do that in the U.S., what do you think people would say?
I don't know if you get a civil war here. I don't know, but it would probably not be taken very well.
No, probably not.
But a lot of people
One
don't
day,
have
maybe.
their basic needs covered, so some would like it because they don't have. Then they pay $5 for a speeding ticket, where someone else pays 20,000.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think that's again like the people with money would hate it and speak up very loudly, but the people who are poor and broke would say, "Hey, that's nice."
I wonder too with those things because from my perspective, the people with a lot of money end up spending way more money to deal with the fallout of hurting people
Mm-hmm.
than they would, again, from my perspective, if the root causes of people's actions were addressed. Like,
That's
to me,
true,
it is less expensive, both in the spiritual sense and also in a literal dollar sense,
Mm-hmm.
to first distribute stuff.
I know, and I think it's so horrible when you see it here. For me, I knew it already before I moved here, but it's different when you see it, like how homeless people get treated here. Because in Finland, we have minus 30 degrees in winter, so you cannot stay on the street anyways, after like October or something. But they have a lot of homeless shelters. And in Germany, I know that our social system has, it includes the rule that a homeless person can go to a certain government office in each city and can get 11 euro per day. Like it's a bit more than $11 to live. So people, they still beg on the street. We have that too, but it's a lot less, and people have an opportunity to get money. They have a possibility to get money. And I feel here, people are dehumanized when they're on the street. They are basically regarded like, okay, yeah, I live in Hollywood, and we have literally in Hollywood, we have a lot of homeless people there. And I feel that a lot of people who lived there for years walk by and say, yeah, okay, we have a lot of trash on the street and there's a homeless person. They are regarded like an object. They are not regarded as humans anymore. And I think that's really horrible to see.
Yes, yeah, it seems like it gets normalized at a certain point, and I totally agree with what you said about people being viewed as objects, as part of their. It's like, oh, that's just what happens in big cities.
Exactly.
And no, it doesn't have to be like that.
And they feel good when you see them as humans. We had 3 people living out of their car around the corner from my building, and I passed them every day when I was going to the grocery store, and I sometimes...
Your neighbors.
Yeah, exactly. I see them as neighbors, and I sometimes brought them food when I had leftovers, or I just said, like, what do you need? And they said, oh, we could really need a bottle of shampoo. And then when I went to buy groceries for myself, I brought them shampoo, and I gave them some food, and they were just so happy that they knew their names. And I would go to say, like, hi. One guy's named Brad, and we always talk and say, hi, Brad. And they were just happy to be recognized as humans and not as a piece of trash or as an object.
Everybody wants to be able to express their humanness, their authenticity in some way. Those are different. Everybody wants...
Yeah.
I mean, maybe I'm like, well, you're going too extreme again. I do feel like to go to the religious or the kind of overlaps of spiritual practices, that there's a human desire for acknowledgement, for being seen
as a
and
basic
heard.
human right.
Yeah.
And I feel sometimes when I see a, like, quote unquote crazy guy on Sunset, where people would say this person is crazy and he's just like yelling fuck you and fuck this, fuck that, maybe this person is even more authentic than a lot of other people who are not homeless. And he thinks maybe, oh, now I don't have to care anymore. You know, there was one episode of Black Mirror.
Maybe they're seeing something that other people aren't seeing also, or
that's possible,
their perception is different, and if we could give them the space to offer something that they have a lot more to offer than they are looked at as an object as.
Yeah.
What were you going to say about Black Mirror?
Oh yeah, there was an episode of Black Mirror with Bryce Dallas Howard. I think it was called Nosedive. And they had this app where people could rate you every interaction with you, like a Yelp, but for people. And you could rate every interaction, and depending on the score, how high it was, you were allowed to live in certain communities or take certain flights. And then her flight is cancelled, and she gets into a discussion with the person at the counter at the airport, and then they rate her badly, and a few people behind her in the line rate her badly, and suddenly her score is not high enough to fly anymore. And then in the end, she loses everything And then she said, oh, now I can be whatever I want to be. She ends up in prison in the end, in a cell. And there's another guy, and they just insult each other for fun because they think, no, we have nothing to lose anymore. And I feel sometimes homeless people feel also nobody's judging me anymore. And why should I now obey to the rules because they have nothing they can take from me anymore? And it's sad that they are homeless, but I think that's an interesting attitude in the system where everybody tries to control you and to tell you to be a certain way. I admire that in a certain way when someone is like, hey, fuck you, and they just say, I don't care anymore because I don't have to.
Yeah, I admire that authenticity too.
And now some people would say these are all mentally ill, and some of them are, but still, maybe they're still authentic. Or it's also a question how much of mental illness is like labeled mental illness and is maybe authenticity. Or just someone, I don't care about rules anymore, this attitude, and not mental illness.
Yeah, or just different kinds of authenticity.
Yeah.
It's all a spectrum.
Yeah, that's so fascinating. But I still think, and then people complain about the crime and say, yeah, that's because all the homeless people are here. But what shall they do if they don't get food? I had actually a homeless man on crack trying to break into my bathroom window.
Whoa.
Yeah, but I thought, okay, what is he supposed to do if he needs food? And of course, I am happy that was the first time the police came. That's also a big thing for me. In Europe, when you pick up the phone and call the police, they come within 5 minutes. And here, I often had the police not coming at all when I tried to call, when something happened, when someone tried to break into my neighbor's car and
Not
stuff.
come at all?
No.
Wow.
No, it's Hollywood. They often don't come at all. They come 2 or 3 hours later. And the time when the guy on crack tried to get into my bathroom window, then suddenly the whole building was surrounded with policemen. That was the first time I saw the police coming. Very interesting.
Very interesting.
And I didn't feel targeted. I think just my window was the nearest for him to get into. I didn't feel that he was targeting me.
You just felt like he was hungry and needed food.
Yes, and he was high, probably also high, and didn't really know what he was doing, and I think he was really hungry. Yeah, and that's so sad that people then say, yeah, and that's because of the homeless. But if nobody takes care of the homeless, what are they supposed to do to get food?
Everybody needs to eat.
Exactly, and basic needs to be taken care of, and not okay. Yeah, don't care, you're a piece of trash.
Yeah, all of this other personality and all these other kinds of authenticity can only come out with that safety again, and part of that safety is food and all of those basics.
And there's this theory, I don't know if you know about that, here in the US. In some European countries, they had this research or trial done that people could, it's called basic income, that's what it would translate to. Oh yeah, you know that. So everybody gets their basic needs taken care of. I don't know, get $700 a month. Wouldn't be enough in LA, but something like that, so that you can pay rent and buy food. Pay rent for a really small place and food, and then you can work and make more money if you want to. Or I think that would be great for artists, because for artists it's harder to get to a point where you make money, or maybe even for doctors who have to study really long, or lawyers. And
totally.
It would be, I think, much easier for people to fulfill their dreams and to be themselves if they would know that their basic needs are taken care of.
I think so too.
I
feel it very strongly.
Yeah.
And people can still do other things, and with healthcare in different places, you can spend more money and get fancier things. That option doesn't have to go away for people to have their baseline covered. You said, a small place and food.
Exactly, just 4 walls, or a room, even if it's a room, but you have the stress taken off of you. You just can sleep and eat in a safe place and work, and then everything else, you go and make money for it if you want to, but you're free. And I think we would have many more successful artists, or people with unique business ideas who could make that come true, because they have to have their back free to work for it.
Totally. All sorts of authenticities could come out that we can only imagine, or things that we couldn't even think of.
Exactly. And in Finland, we have this, you can apply for it. It's not for everyone, but you can apply for it if you have a unique business idea, or you have to submit kind of a business plan, what you want to do, but you can get that. You can get this free basic income. And there, I don't know how many, there were numbers. I watched a news article on that. I don't remember, but there's a certain percentage in Finland who are right now getting that. And I watched a documentary about one guy who's building really unique, cuckoo clocks right now. And he can do that because he gets this.
We got things to learn from other countries.
Yes, Finland is great. That's why I loved it so much. But Germany has also a pretty good system.
Thank you for coming and sharing about a perspective that I would not have known so much about without you coming on.
Thank you. Oh, can I say one more thing?
Of course, yeah.
About someone like me now, an actress and performer. They always expect you to be perfect and look good, and some people are shocked when I run around without makeup. I love when I'm not on camera to run around without makeup, and I feel it's important for me, especially here in Hollywood, to keep doing that. Because here it's even more this pressure, if you're compared to Europe, to always be perfect. And if you're then maybe famous and on a show, like famous, known, whatever you want to call it, quote unquote, then they will even be more after you and paparazzi and blah blah. And I never want to change. I want to be without makeup if I feel like it. And I think that's so important to remind yourself, especially as a female in this industry, to stay true to yourself and to maybe be without makeup or whatever. If you feel good with makeup, go to sleep with makeup. But, still be yourself despite that there are so many expectations and like beauty standards that people want you to live up to. And I think that's the people who get cast, who get jobs and are successful if they dare to be themselves, because that sets them then apart from everybody else who is scared to do that.
And what else are we all looking to other people for but the confirmation that we're allowed to be ourselves too?
Exactly. That's why you feel so comfortable around your best friends or your partner, when you know that they expect you for what you are and you can really be yourself. You can ugly cry, whatever, or just, I don't know, whatever, unshaven, no makeup, whatever.
Be an actual authentic human being.
Exactly. Be you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming again.
Thank you so much, Annie, for having me.
Thank you for tuning in, and thanks for being you. Hey, thanks for sticking around till the end. Please check out the AnnieAltmanShow.com and also patreon.com/The Annie Altman Show if you're able and interested in donating $1 or more per month to these projects. Non-dollar ways to share value includes and is not limited to sharing anything, the podcast, any YouTube video, any blog post, any social media account, subscribing, following anywhere, rating or reviewing anything, sending any feedback or ideas, and or connecting me with people for the podcast or other projects you feel would enjoy this work. In my opinion, word of mouth is the only, quote, real advertising, so here I am using words from my mouth.